Hello and welcome to another episode of Build-a-Barbarian Workshop. In today's episode, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a teaser introduction for my new run, the run I'm working on right now after the Tavern Brawler Wizard. And this run is a Shadowheart origin, as you can see, Trickery Domain Cleric. I'm playing as her default subclass, and I'm doing a solo honor mode run with Trickery Domain as my main class. Right now it's my only class. I might take a wizard level later. I had a wizard level earlier that I decided I didn't need, but I might grab it again near end game. But the goal of the run is to mostly be a Trickery Domain Cleric. I'm still working on the Tavern Brawler run. I'll have the final video out pretty soon, and then I'm working on the full build guide. That'll probably be a couple weeks before I finish that. But in the meantime, I've got a lot of footage accumulating from this run, so I wanted to start releasing some of it. So what's the premise of this run? Basically, I want to convince you that Trickery Domain is probably better than you think. I'm level 8 right now, and I'm just going to kind of show off what the subclass can do and try to prove to you that it's not as bad as its reputation suggests, and it's actually pretty good. I'm not going to go so far as to say that it's the best cleric subclass. I think that's probably Tempest, and then I might actually put Nature for number 2. But I think it's in the top half. I think it's good. I think it's got stuff to recommend it, and I think some of what it can do is underexplored. So what makes it good? So let me give you just a kind of quick overview of the things I've been exploring with it. So the first one is an exploit that's only been recently discovered. And actually, I say Trickery isn't the best cleric, but if we're just looking at this exploit and you abuse it to its max, I actually think it is the best subclass, but you don't actually need the Trickery cleric in your party to use this exploit. You can just have them in your camp like a transmutation wizard, basically. But what is the exploit? So I learned this from Proxygate Tactician. He learned it from a viewer. It's kind of wild to think this has been in the game this whole time without anybody noticing, or at least without most of the community noticing. But here's what you do. You, outside of combat, activate Invoke Duplicity, and then I'll enter turn-based mode. And when you do it outside of combat, the copy has all of your gear. And when I say it has all of your gear, I mean it literally has your gear. See, it's all there. So if I go like this, on Shadowheart, I've got the Titan String bow equipped. I'll unequip that, so I have nothing in my bow slot. Go to the Illusory Double, and then do the little eyeball glitch, where I grab it, hit tab to switch over, equip it to Shadowheart, and then I just duplicated the Titan String bow, and then you can see my outtakes for this video because I've duplicated it 4 times. But it's that simple, and I've just duplicated one of the strongest bows in the game, and now I have another copy of it. And so Trickery Cleric can just do that at will. I can do that twice per long rest because I have 2 Channel Divinities, and if I wanted to, I'm not going to do it now, but I could grab literally everything else equipped here. Look, a Shadow Blade. Look, another copy of Smuggler's Ring. And you can just go absolutely crazy with that and duplicate all your items. So this is definitely an exploit. I usually try to limit myself with exploits. Because, you know, if you use every exploit, the game is trivial. But my policy on exploits, generally speaking, is I like using them when they add a new dimension to the game. So an exploit that opens up a strategy that just wouldn't exist otherwise, or an exploit that makes a suboptimal class viable. Those are the kinds of exploits I like. I just don't like it when exploits dominate the conversation and just make it so why would you ever do anything else? So basically, any exploit that expands the build space is the kind I like to use. And so in my last run, I would call the elemental momentum trick I was using. I think that's an exploit. It's not intended for you to be able to go over 5 stacks, but it's very interesting to be able to do that because it just changes the sorts of things you can do. So how am I going to use that for Trickery Cleric? So let me show you just how crazy this can get.
Need to keep going.
So in my chest here, I have gone absolutely nuts on duplicating items. Look how many copies of all these items I have. I've got 4 Risky Rings, 2 Eversight Rings, a bunch of Helmets of Arcane Acuity, a bunch of disintegrating Nightwalkers, just all sorts of stuff. And, oh yeah, a bunch of Shadow Blades. I can dual wield them. I've got extra copies of Shadow Blade. And, you know, I'm playing solo, so there's not really any reason to have 8 Shadow Blades normally. But that's where this character concept comes into play, which is I'm playing around outfitting my summons. So if you look here, you can't easily see it, but I have a bunch of non-standard equipment equipped to these skeletons. So they're dual-wielding Shadow Blades, which is just crazy. And then I also gave them all an Eversight ring so that they have immunity to blindness. So what I can essentially do, I think I'm all out of darkness arrows. I used them all in the crash. Yeah. But if I did have darkness arrows, I could equip an Eversight ring. My summons all have one as well. I shoot the arrow at the feet of an enemy, immediately enter turn-based mode, and then while hidden, me and my skeletons can all just wail on the enemy. And so it's basically like a portable darkness party. I've got all my summons with the ability to play around darkness, which is very strong. And I'm playing Shadowheart as I'm playing Dark Shadowheart, and I'm kind of trying to stay reasonably lore accurate. So I'm going to be getting the Shar Spear of Evening, which lets you cast darkness at will. And so once I get that, then it will really kind of all come together. So one thing about attacking from darkness is if you're not in combat yet, you roll a stealth check to see if you enter combat. And obviously summons don't have amazing stealth checks by default. They just have +4. They actually have one higher than normal because I gave them the Graceful Cloth. And the Graceful Cloth gives you +2 dexterity and advantage on dexterity checks, one of which is stealth. So makes them better at stealth like that, but +4 is still not very good. You're not going to pass most checks, which is where the Trickery Cleric's class abilities come from. So I said that Trickery Cleric is actually good. So obviously the item duplicating glitch, incredibly strong on its own. But you don't even need to have the Trickery Cleric in your party to use it. But I also think Trickery Cleric has abilities that make you want to put it in your party as well, that you can play around. And so one of those is the spell Pass Without Trace. So Trickery Clerics get this earliest of anyone. They get it at the same time as Druids at level 3. The other class that gets it is Rangers, but they don't get it till level 5. And what's really powerful about Pass Without Trace is 2 things. So first of all, I don't even have proficiency in stealth, but I have 18 dexterity, so that's +4. I have 2 copies of Smuggler's Ring, +2 and +2, and then I have advantage on stealth from the Dark Justiciar half-plate. You put it all together, and I have a +18 to stealth without proficiency, which is really high. Plus, Mark of the Shifter gives me a bonus to all checks, so 1 to 4 on that as well. And there's other incidental things you can add that I don't have here, but that's very good. You know, if you can get a stealth check of around +20, you can reliably succeed on most stealth checks against most enemies. And the thing, so that's already good. It turns me into a serviceable stealth archer. That's a lot of what I did in Act 1. I'd never really played a stealth character before, so I learned a lot about how that works. I'll be talking about what I learned in the actual videos. But the other thing that it lets you do is turn your your summons into serviceable stealth characters. So look at this. Pass Without Trace is an aura, so now all my skeletons have +14 to their stealth. That is high enough that we can all hide in darkness and all of us have a decent chance to succeed at our stealth checks. So the kind of tagline I have for this character is that it's a stealth summoner. So I'm playing around summons, I'm playing around stealth, and I'm kind of seeing what we can do with summons when they can be sneaky with Pass Without Trace and when they can be totally geared out with the item duplication glitch. I'll show you more of this later, but in order to... So item duplication glitch is how you get the items. equipping them to summons is not straightforward, but it also uses an exploit. This is one that's been known for a while, but if you go... Oops. Let me just drop that off. So if you use this method, you can swap what a summon has equipped by going like this and dragging it onto the spot on a character. That'll swap the equipment and give it to the summon. This is actually how people get magic clubs, the most busted item in the game. You steal it from a woodwode that way. And but if the summon doesn't have an item equipped in that slot, you can't do that. They have to already have an item there. So skeletons, by default, they come with just a short bow. So you can do the item swap glitch with a bow by default. But if you want to do anything else, you need to get an item in that slot. And so how do you do that? And the way you do that is by abusing the items that Gale can eat to sate his arcane hunger. So Amulet of the Worthy is one such example. There's a list on the wiki of all the items that are in this category, but items that Gale can eat for his weird condition have this weird property where a summon... Ooh, let me grab the one that actually had... that I took this off of, yeah. So see how this summon doesn't have an amulet equipped? An item that Gale can consume...
What's next, I wonder?
For kind of weird implementation reasons. So when I try to interact with it, I've got all this stuff. If I was Gale and I had my Arcane Hunger active, it would be prompting me here to consume it as well. Summons don't have the ability to interact with items as normal, but for some reason, when an item has that Gale consumable property... Oh, I keep losing the skeleton I want. It makes it so you can do this. See how it's prompting me to interact with it? I interact with it. That gives me equipping the item. And Amulet of the Unworthy, it's a cool item for summons because... Let me show you what it can do. It's a cool item for skeletons specifically because it gives resistance to slashing damage and vulnerability to bludgeoning damage. Skeletons already have vulnerability to bludgeoning damage, so that does nothing. So it just gives them resistance to slashing, which is pretty common damage type, so it just adds to their survivability. But I also gave them a bunch of items that are not consumable by Gale. And how that works is once you've got it in there, once you've got some Gale food equipped, like this, you can do the... Oops. Well, it doesn't matter. You can do the swap. So like this, I go like this, I drag, and I can swap the item. So it's kind of tedious, but you can duplicate items, you can give them to your summons, and there's Gale food for every item slot except for cloaks. So you can give a summon, you can outfit them in every single item slot except for cloaks. There's no cloaks that Gale can eat. And so the things you can do with this are just totally crazy. I mean, it's just totally greenfield. Like summons with gear is not something that's been explored very much. Captain ET, another poster on the subreddit and a YouTuber who I like, he's done a lot of exploration with outfitting Mage Hand. Maybe I'll link his Mage Hand post in the description if you want to check it out. But this is basically building on that. And it's like, what can you do when you can reliably do that with all your summons? And you don't have to worry about losing the gear because you can duplicate it. Because when a summon dies with gear equipped, it vanishes into the ether. So I've got these summons that are dual wielding Shadow Blades, which is just insane. It makes them way more accurate than they would be because look at that, 91%. Got advantage from Shadow Blade. Way more damage than they normally be doing. 2d8 plus 5 psychic and 1d4 fire from the Helldust Gauntlets. And you know, this is just one thing you can do. There's a million ways you can use this, so it's very good. Some things I've been doing with most recently, I can cast haste with the Darkfire Shortbow, and so this is 3 more concentration slots that they can be concentrating on spells like haste for me. I've been kind of going through the wiki and finding all of the equipable items that give you spells to see what I can give my summons. I've got a couple other very spicy ideas that will come into play in Act 3, so very excited to try those. And then I also gave all of these skeletons the Poisoner's Ring, which does vulnerability to poison damage. And so see this one, it's not on cooldown. This one it is, so I've got multiple uses of that, which is very good.
Faith will guide me.
And the Poisoner's Ring is particularly good with Trickery Cleric because of Divine Strike. So my Divine Strike does poison damage. And this is another one of the Trickery domain abilities that I'm going to be demonstrating is a lot better than you think it is. So I think most people who see this ability kind of don't think twice about it. It's only 1d8 poison damage. It's once per turn. You're making weapon attacks on a caster. You know, you look at it and it just seems bad. And in tabletop, it is bad. You know, it's just not a good ability. But in Baldur's Gate, it's a very good ability, really a fantastic one. But the reasons why it's good are just not obvious when you first look at it. So 2 things about it that make it better than it seems. First of all, when you use it from the hotbar like this, and when you use it as a reaction like this, these are different cooldowns. So if you have a way of attacking twice per turn, you can actually use it twice per turn for 2d8 damage. So I get one of my skeletons to cast haste on me. I attack with Divine Strike Poison. Then I attack with Booming Blade. I got this from Shadowheart's Racial. And then I do reaction, Divine Smite with that. And so now I'm doing 2d8 poison damage. Oh, but wait, I can give them vulnerability. That gives them 4d8. Oh, wait, all of this doubles on a crit. So it can be as high as 8d8 poison damage. And now you see how the ability starts to look a lot better than it does normally. But still, that's not crazy. You know, that's good. It's decent. But the thing that really makes Divine Strike crazy will require a demonstration from Scratch. Unfortunately, you're going to see Scratch be a sacrificial victim. But don't worry. It's just a magic trick. He will survive. So I've got the Titan String Bow equipped, which adds additional damage equal to your strength modifier. I have 18 strength and 18 dex. Let's see what this looks like. So I will do the ranged version of my Divine Strike. I will shoot Scratch. I'm sorry, bud. And let's see what happened. So he took 15 piercing damage, 4 from my dexterity and 4 from my strength, and 12 poison damage, which is a max roll, 8 poison plus 4 strength. Divine Strike, when used from the hotbar, is a DRS even in honor mode. So it will get certain bonuses. Titan Strike is one, or Titan Strike, Titan String Bow is one of the most kind of infamous DRS abusers because the Titan weapon bonus gets added to every instance on a DRS. So ranged Divine Strike, I get to add my strength twice. And I get to add it to the elemental damage, which is good because the elemental damage, I can give them vulnerability with Virulent Venom. So suddenly my Divine Strikes are doing, this Divine Strike is adding to a normal bow attack, 1d8 poison plus 4 poison, plus an additional 4 poison if they're vulnerable. And you can see how it really adds up. And so this is already good. I just barely got it at level 8. So I've started playing with it. But it really takes off in power in Act 3. Having an at-will DRS effect is really good when you start adding in items like the Crater Flesh Gloves. And Divine Strike is just insane with the Crater Flesh Gloves. It triggers them an additional time, so you can be getting, on a single crit, doubling all these dice and adding Crater Flesh twice, and then getting damage riders like Titan Weapon on, to just use that example, it adds to the piercing damage, it adds to the poison damage, it adds to Crater Flesh's force damage, and since Crater Flesh is triggered twice, this, on a crit with Crater Flesh Gloves, Divine Strike Poison, with the Titan String Bow, will add my strength 4 times. So it's doing 16 extra damage. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So you can really go crazy with Divine Strike. And there's a lot of other cool things besides just big crits that you can do with an at-will DRS. Another one I really like is coatings. So coatings that give a roll to resist. So like Carabasan's poison. They must succeed a con save or become paralyzed. If you do that with a Divine Strike, they'll have to make the roll twice. And if they fail at either of them, they'll get the condition. Just the way that the condition gets applied. So very flavorful that this also makes poisons better. And you'll see me use that a lot in Act 3. So I think that's kind of all I'm going to tease for now. I don't want to spoil everything about what this character can do. The other thing about Trickery Cleric is it's a cleric, and clerics have a good spell list. You know, I think we all know how good Spirit Guardians is. Clerics have a lot of exclusive spells that are good for summons. So Aid, they're the only class that gets Aid. You can see my skeletons have more health than they would normally have because of Aid. Clerics also get other buffs like Freedom of Movement, Hero's Feast, all very good with summons. And then they also get access to some of the really good late game summons like Create Undead and Planar Ally. So I have a lot of ideas in Act 3 for how to kind of go crazy with sneaky, geared out summons. I'm kind of playing a lore accurate Dark Justiciar Shadowheart. I'm summoning undead extraplanar entities given to me by Lady Shar to spread her goodwill through the universe. And it's been a lot of fun. As you probably know about me by now, I really like builds that are weird, that give you a way to play the game that you wouldn't expect, something that you wouldn't think is good but it's actually good. And Trickery Cleric just totally fits the bill. I've been having a great time, and I'm very excited to show you what else you can do with these mechanics. So thanks for watching. Trickery Cleric videos coming soon. The build guide for Tavern Brawler Wizard, I promise that's coming, but turns out I have a lot of thoughts about that, so it'll take me a couple weeks. But it will come, and I'll start uploading these in the meantime. So if you enjoy the series, as always, I appreciate it if you'd like, comment, or subscribe, and I will talk to you next time.